Welcome to our Gate 3 Cost Management Module training. My name is Leanne and I'll be facilitating our session today. So today I'll be providing you with an introduction to the project creation process, as well as an overview of the cost management module, which is one of the three main financial management modules in Gate 3. Our primary focus today will be on that project creation process and the cost management module. And eventually, as we go through the three main financial management modules, we'll be able to describe how the cost management, budget, and billing modules are interconnected in Gate 3. So this is our end goal. And today we're going to be beginning with the cost management module. So without further ado, let's dive in. So over here, this is the workflow that depicts how a project is created in Gate 3 with several different parties involved. It starts off with the Notice of Contract Award form, which is our NOCA form. The process starts with the PM of record filling out the NOCA form to the best of their ability and then submitting this form to costing. Costing then triggers the integration with AS400, which is our financial management system with it and Gate 3 as well. So to access the NOCA form, you can be logged into Gate 3. So I'm just going to navigate over to Gate 3, just letting you know that currently I am in the live environment, and this is our typical home screen. You may have different widgets over here, but for the most part, you will have the top search bar over here, as well as the left menu pane. To get to the NOCA form, you would click or hover over the best practices and then click into the best practices library. This library contains all the best practices related to project management, and it's easily accessible to you within Gate 3. So in this top search field over here, we're going to type in NOCA. And then we're going to click on this first result, which will be the most recent and in-use version of the NOCA form. It'll open in a new tab. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so we can see it a bit clearer. So as mentioned, this is our NOCA form, and the NOCA form is color-coded to indicate the party responsible for completing their respective colored fields. So for instance, any field in this dusty pink color are to be completed by the project manager. As you can see, this is the majority of the form, and there are a lot of fields that need to be filled in pertaining to the newly awarded job, such as the owner information, as well as who the designated PM is, the superintendent of record or designated superintendent, cost accountant, and so forth, as well as some financial information as well in the lower section of the form. I do want to note that on a job, there may be several or multiple PMs and supers on a job. However, there can only be one PM and super of record, which are captured in this designated PM and designated super fields. Costing does fill out some of the fields of this form as indicated by their blue color. And then Gate 3 is represented by this green color, and they really just fill out one field, which is the project number once that project is created in Gate 3. The last kind of field that's filled out is by estimating and costing together, which is the burden percentage. So I want to let you know that this form must be downloaded in order for you to fill it out, as this is just a viewable template as indicated by this top red writing over here. So once the PM completes filling out this specific form, they send it to costing, who completes their blue fields on the form and then triggers the integration between the FMS and Gate 3. Just going back to our slides now. And this leads to our second step, which is the project creation. Costing then uploads the coded estimate in Gate 3, which they receive from the PM in conjunction with that NOCA form. And they populate the cost codes and their corresponding values in the cost management module. I'm going to go over this right now, this slide, and essentially costing will compare that coded estimate that's submitted by the project manager to this list of standard codes used at Elliston for validation purposes. These codes align with the 2004 master format list of codes, which are embedded in Gate 3 within the system. In addition to verifying that the correct codes have been used, costing will also verify that the appropriate values have been assigned to each code prior to uploading it into the cost management module in Gate 3. So you can access this standard list of codes within the best practices library. So just going back to our best practices library in the live environment, we'll just X out of this current search, and then we'll type in codes in our search field within the best practices library. And it will be our first search. We can click on this and it'll open the list of codes in another tab. And it's an Excel sheet as we see over here. So this list is used by the project manager when they're creating their coded estimate. And then costing also uses this list to verify that the correct codes were used when reviewing the coded estimate prior to adding it to the cost management system. So once costing has uploaded the coded estimate into Gate 3, it leads to our third step, which is the project setup. And this is where support or tech desk will grant the role access to the PM and superintendent of record to the newly created project in Gate 3. Once the PM and super of record have been granted access to the project, they can now begin adding staff to the project within Gate 3. Our fourth step is the budget setup, and the PM will set up the budget with input and sign off from the client or owner with guidance from the cost accountant. The cost accountants are there to support, so please do reach out to them if you're unsure or have any budget related questions. They're there to support as well. And the last step is training and support. So our contact consultants will reach out to the PM to onboard them onto the Gate 3 platform and configure their project settings within the application. Tech training, which would be Sud, Tasneem, or myself, will provide any additional training if and when required. We are here to support as well, so please do reach out as always. So now that we have understood or got an idea of what the project creation process looks like, let's review some details about cost codes as we've mentioned them a few times. Now, as we see here in this table, there are cost codes and cost account types. Cost codes are a series of numbers which are assigned to one of the following cost account types. As we see here, there are 5 main cost account types or categories that are used. The first one is equipment, which would generally be used for equipment, but in Ontario, the cost accountants have advised against using this specific cost account type and have advised to use the material cost account type instead. There is also the labor cost account type, which is for any self-performed or payroll requirement. There's material, which is allocated for any materials, equipment, and purchase costs. There's subcontracted for any subcontracted related costs. And then there's other, which is allocated for allowances and contingency values. It is recommended that there should be a 1-to-1 ratio between cost codes or cost accounts and budget lines, such that there should be only one budget line per cost account. If you must, you can have multiple budget lines per cost accounts for the labor, material, and other cost account types. However, for the subcontracted cost account type, the 1-to-1 ratio between cost accounts and budget lines must be maintained, as the subcontracting department cannot view when there are multiple budget lines associated to a cost account that's linked to the subcontracted cost account type, which could result in potential errors in subcontractor payment. So just one thing to note here, that 1-to-1 ratio between cost accounts and budget lines must be maintained for subcontracted. Okay, so cost codes can further be broken down by phase and location, in which you're only permitted to use the same cost code with the same cost account type by further breaking it down by phase 1 or 2, and location A or B. This is not common, but is an option that is available to you based on your project. So now that we have seen the various elements that go into costing, let's explore the cost management module in Gate 3. So this is the Gate 3 home screen that you will see when you're logged in. Just to let you know, I will be conducting this part of the demonstration in the training environment, which does closely replicate the live environment. To ensure that you can access all the relevant modules on the left-hand navy blue pane, you have to always ensure that you've entered a project number in your project search bar. So for our purposes, we'll be working with project 70,000. To get to the cost management module, you'll hover over financial management and then click onto cost management. Now, this cost management module in Gate 3 is predominantly driven and owned by the costing and the cost accountant. Only the cost accountant would be able to see this blue edit button right here on the top right-hand corner and are therefore able to upload and or input various cost codes for the project. The reason we are seeing this right now is because I'm signed in as system administrator in the training environment, and therefore we see this. But typically when you're logged in as a PM or super, you will not be able to see this. So for your purposes, PMs, project coordinators, and supers, you would use the cost management module to view, search, and filter the various cost codes and their values that have been associated to our project. So let's take a tour of this cost management module now. On the top section of the module, you have different tiles that provide a summary or snapshot of the project financials in terms of the contract amount, the bid profit, as well as the 3 or 4 main cost account types. So the labor account, material account, sub accounts, other accounts, and then a total of all the accounts. To view or compare the current amount to the original allocated amount, you can click the arrow to expand these tiles, and you can get an idea of what is current, and what was original. For the cost account types over here, we have 3 values. We have the current, original budget, as well as cost to date. So you can see, again, that snapshot of the project financials. I do want to let you know that this bid profit is not really associated to a cost code and is essentially the expected profit margin expected to Ellis Dawn that would be included in the bid for a contract. Now, moving on to the main section of the module, here is where you will see specific information regarding the project financials. So as you see, this table has 7 columns. We have the cost code, we have the description, which would be the item or work associated to the cost code. You have the type, which is essentially the type or cost account type associated to the specific item over here. As you see, the cost account types have been abbreviated to the first letter of the account type. So we have O for other, S for subcontracted, M for material, and so forth. The original budget is the amount that is entered by costing as the awarded value. The current budget is the budget that has been revised from the original budget due to changes or subquotes. The committed cost is the amount of money that has been committed to be spent on a given cost account. This number is typically larger than or equal to the cost to date for the cost account and includes money that is yet to be spent. And then the cost to date is the amount of money that has been spent for a specific cost account and would be captured in a financial document such as an invoice. I do want to let you know that these columns can move around to your preference. So for instance, say if I wanted the cost code to be after the description, then I can just drag and drop it to kind of customize my view. As we see in this table as well, there are 2 main colored dots. We see blue dots, which essentially represent a delay or discrepancy between the financial management system and Gate 3. In my view right now, we are seeing a lot of blue dots, and the reason being is that the training environment of Gate 3 is not integrated with the FMS, and hence we're seeing all these blue dots. There are also yellow dots as we see, and these yellow dots represent comments, which we will review shortly. Some other features that are available to us in this module is this live button over here. This live button is great. It indicates the values in this module. Essentially, it's letting us know that the values that we see right now are the current and live project financials. This feature is good for IPRs and billings as it allows you to select a previous date, and the system provides a snapshot of the transactions on that date so you can view your costs in preparation for an IPR and billing. So to use this feature, you would click on Live. And from the calendar, we can select our date that we want to go back to, as well as a time as well. So for our purposes, let's select April 1st, and we'll leave the time as is, and then we'll click Apply. And then the system will create a historic view of the transactions that occurred on April 1st, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. To save this historical view or milestone, there is a star right here. Once we select it, it will turn yellow and open the left, or rather the right-hand menu pane for additional features. So this will open the milestones section. And over here, we see all the previously saved milestones for the cost management module. Now, to add our new milestone, we'll name it. We can name it April 2025 report. And then we will click Add to add our new milestone. Say, for instance, I were to cancel this milestone date and time, it will return to our live values, which is our current values as of right now. But if I wanted to return back to the milestone I just created, I would click on it in the right-hand menu pane in the milestone section, and it will take me back to that historic view, to that date and time that is saved for this milestone. If I wanted to, for instance, rename or delete this milestone, I can click on the ellipses and it will give me the option to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to now cancel this so we can continue moving on. So now this right-hand menu panel, as we've seen here, this is where the milestones reside, and there are additional features that are available to us over here as well. So beginning at the very top is a glossary. So this glossary helps us to really find terms, rather the definition of terms. If we're curious about what something means, we can always come to this glossary, and it will give us any project management or financial or accounting related term would be in this glossary over here. So we can use the search bar on top to search the term we're looking for, or we can go through the alphabetized list to look for what we want as well. So say, for instance, I want to know what approved budget was, I could click on it and it will take me, or rather it will show me the definition of approved budget. Now, moving on to the next feature is the comments feature. As I told you earlier, the yellow dots indicate that there is a comment associated to this specific field. This section allows you to view a comment that was previously entered and saved by clicking the field with the yellow dot. So for instance, if I were to click ACOM, as it has a yellow dot, we'll be able to see the various comments that were entered for this specific field. Also, if I click on any field, I have the option to add comments as well. So say, for instance, I wanted to add a comment to this general requirements field over here. I would click on it and it will allow me to now enter a comment for this. So say if I want to write general requirement verification, and then I would click on add, and now this field will have a newly added yellow dot, and I can always click on it and it will show me my comment. I do want to let you know that essentially everyone can access these comments, but it's only the author or writer of the comment that has the option to view and click on these ellipses to either edit or delete the comment. So only the writer of the comment can do this, but anybody can view a field that has a comment on it. Now moving on to the next feature within this panel is the milestones, which we already went through. Here is where you would view all the milestones that have been saved to your project. The next feature after this is the views, and here you can select the view that suits your liking and have it default as your preferred view by selecting this heart icon. So right now we're in the basic view and it's hearted. So this is what we will always see when we enter into the cost management module. But there is also the category view and the cost code view. And say if I wanted to always be in the basic view, it's hearted. Whenever I launch this cost management module, it will open in the basic view. But say if I wanted to temporarily work in the cost code view, I can select it and it will stay this way. But if I always wanted it to open to this type of view, I can hard it and it will do that the next time I open this cost management module. The next feature is the table preferences. So over here is where you can customize your table by selecting and deselecting options within the various categories over here. Sorry, under properties, I can select how I want the table columns to look like, the summary tiles, as well as the totals. So for instance, say if I wanted going to table columns over here, say if I wanted to add another column, for instance, like pending cost, I can go ahead and do that and it will add it for me. And I just need to ensure that I'm clicking on save to ensure that this add a column saves now. Next, going to the summary tiles, say if I did not want all, right now we have 7 tiles. See if I did not want all 7 tiles up here, I wanted to just kind of keep it to the main ones and I wanted to take away all accounts, I can deselect it and it will remove that from my view. Again, I would just need to click on save in order to save this preference. And then lastly is the totals. Typically the totals are pinned to the very bottom. However, if you would like to have it pinned to the top, you can do that as well. And again, you would need to click on save to save your preference. Now moving on to filters. The filters over here are used so you can really filter and get an idea of what you're searching for. So for instance, say if I wanted to filter by the cost account type, I can go ahead and do that by clicking it and it'll give me all the ones that are for material. I can also filter by location or phase if I like. I also have the original budget, so I can enter the maximum or minimum amount and it'll help me to fine tune and it'll pull up what I'm looking for if I, again, I'm selecting other filters to go along with it to refine my search, as well as committed cost, current budget, and cost to date as well has those min and max fields for you to, again, fine tune your search. As you can see in the table as well, there are inline filters that can be used similarly, but if you want to do a more thorough search or a more in-depth search, you could use the filters that are available to you in this panel as well. The last feature within the right-hand panel over here is Access Help. So this feature allows you to see the access breakdown for the cost management module specifically. So since G3 is role-based, if you click on this arrow in the search field, you will see all the roles that are present in G3. So for instance, say if I wanted to know the type of access a lead estimator has to the cost management module, I can click on it. And as we see here, the cost management module has 4 primary functions, which is create accounts, view material transactions, and view labor transactions. And specifically for the lead estimator, their access within the cost management module is to view accounts and view material transactions only, but they're unable to create accounts and view labor transactions. So you can come to the section to see what role has the type of access they have to the cost management module. Okay, so some other features that are available to us is this export button right here. And this is used to download all the cost codes on your project in an Excel file. And then lastly, we have this generate report. So this generates a PDF that displays the association between cost accounts and budget lines for your project and allows you to see which cost accounts have linked budget lines and which don't. So I'm going to go ahead and click generate report, and it will generate that PDF report for me. I'm going to click on my report and it will open in the PDF. I'm just going to quickly go to page 59. And over here, we see that the cost account of demolition, so 024100, has one budget line associated to it. And as we see here, the cost account type is subcontracted. Recall earlier when I said we want to have a 1-to-1 ratio between cost accounts and budget lines for subcontracted? This is what I was specifically referring to. And again, the reason why we want to have that is because if we were to have multiple budget lines, the subcontracting department may not be able to view all those budget lines and will likely result in an error of payment. So we always want to ensure that one cost account is linked to one budget line for this specific cost account type of subcontracted. So I do want to let you know that the budget module has the same feature to generate a report that displays the association between cost accounts and budget lines. However, in the budget module, the organization is reversed, where you will see the budget line first and the cost account under it. Okay, so for my cost accountants on this call, if you ever need a refresher or clarification on how to add or upload cost accounts, you can always visit the help pages. So we can navigate over to this question mark icon on the top right-hand corner and then click on Gate 3. This will open our help pages for Gate 3 in Confluence. You can use the search bar to search for what you're looking for, or you can scroll down to cost management and click on this arrow to expand the view. And over here, you will be given step-by-step instructions on how to create cost accounts and upload cost accounts as well. So this concludes our review of the project creation process and overview of the cost management module in Gate 3. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time and participation. Please always feel free to reach out if you have any questions, and please do enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.